On bioenergy, the FAO's position is that it's a very complex topic, it's a multifaceted topic, and therefore we should not oversimplify the complexity because it biases the reality and can be misleading. And therefore we should embrace this complexity of sustainable bioenergy. And the good news is that together, not only FAO, but internationally, globally, we have enough knowledge and experience to get these things right, to achieve sustainable bioenergy. I personally think that really, yes, we need society to move away from economic systems which are based on fossil fuel and fossil resources. We need to mobilize more biomass, to reduce the use of fossil energy and fossil resources for the economy. In the food versus fuel debate, there is a risk of competition between food and fuel. You put so much pressure on the biomass that you exhaust it, that you damage the ecosystem. There's also a risk that if there's a big market for one product, the temptation would be that let's just produce that product through monocropping, which we know can have disadvantages for nature. But the main aspect is that the production of fuel should add to the production of food. There are different ways to sustainably increase biomass. It is challenging, but I think we have no alternative, and there are ways to do it in the right way. Of course, one obvious one comes to mind is you sustainably increase the yield, the production per hectare of the biomass. You can also be more efficient in the processing of the biomass. Another good practice is what we call agroecological zoning, where you define zones where you can produce your biomass for different purposes. And Brazil, for example, has done this for sugarcane, where they have a whole map where, okay, here we can produce sugarcane for ethanol. They've done the same for palm oil. And that's another good practice. The other good practice that we promote and we work on is integrated food energy systems, combining food and non-food crops and cascading use of the biomass. The other one is to use inputs more efficiently. Precision agriculture, for example, is very interesting because you can really know exactly where to put your fertilizer where it's needed or pesticide. It was expensive before, now it's becoming much more affordable with, for example, drones, which reduce the cost of precision farming. The third one is outgrower schemes, whereby the small-scale farmers produce the biomass for different plants that can use it in different ways. In that way, they are not displaced for their land, so there's no risks related to land use change or to displacement. Let's say deforestation, they are already there, and they can diversify their sources of income. The use of residues to produce bioenergy can compete with good soil management. If you use all the corn stubble or all the wheat, the straw to produce bioenergy or bioproducts for that matter, then you don't cover your soil anymore, and the residues cannot be used as organic fertilizer. So we have to be careful in really managing well these diverse uses of biomass. If there's more biomass being produced, it means there's a market for it, and therefore it stimulates responsible investments in those sectors. So at the same time, you need these sectors to work well to produce the biomass in a sustainable way, and the market requires that they are produced sustainably, then it also helps investments in these sectors. So it goes both ways. I know that in the Netherlands, you're trying to find ways to mobilize biomass for bioenergy production in a sustainable way. So from FAO's point of view, we would have the following recommendations. First one is to accept that sustainable bioenergy is complex and multifaceted, and therefore assessing its sustainability is context specific. It should be undertaken case by case, kind of moving away from sweeping statements, because they don't capture the whole complexity. The second message is that the good news is that together, FAO and others, we have knowledge and tools and approaches to address this complexity and to achieve sustainable bioenergy. The third message is, just specifically on biofuels, is that biofuels per se are not good or bad. It really depends on how they are managed. And the last one is that sustainable bioenergy should be seen, should contribute to responsible agriculture investments. So it should be part of sustainable agriculture. Relying on biomass will always be a challenge. But you have to look at the counterfactual. What alternative do we have?